Zeke further asks if he knew of the name Doug as he denies and queries of why. Zeke states that it was a world-ending dragon and the very source of his father's poison. It was the vicious of all elder dragons which existed till the very date. Dragon were a name feared by all in the adhesion as walls and potential. Adventurers emerged, hopes of survival were garnered, but exceptional beings which could destroy the walls. A superior species dragon emerged, although hostility towards humans wasn't uncommon. They sought humans as an exploitive target. After the laws disappeared, they refrained to chasing humans to extinction but sought hierarchy to play as gods while offering protection. But when things went astray, they threatened the humans with their might, and that was when Yusin had appeared. Without strategies and determination, he proved they were defeatable, which changed the entire world. Damn, how is the world so fine after an entire world crashed into it? As Jarian concludes that they went into hiding, Zeke refutes that they had but changed their strategies. Using their sly minds and wit, they started integrating amongst the humans by changing their appearances. He was informing him of the classified reports since he was Yuzong's son and if he intended to pursue adventuring. Duganig was the dragon Yusung had been following before falling to the poison. Defeating him might even earn Jarian a chance at curing him. He ensures to certainly create an opportunity for him to kill the dragon, but if he grew stronger as an adventurer. Jarian looked at a card in his hand and recalled of Zeke dragons hid behind ample facades and then wait for a perfect chance. Even if he obtained the evidence and managed to reveal it, it was pointless. Unless he could capture it once exposed, they'd simply hide again, which is followed by distrust and despair. A quick, precise, and clean move was required before they even manage a chance to hide. They had been preparing for capturing Duganik for the past couple years of highly skilled and capable individuals. Despite his desperation, if he failed to grow strong, there won't be a spot offered. The fact that a member would drag the team down was unacceptable. When Jariong asks of the deadline, Zeke informs that the missing factor was Duganag's location, which they predicted to find within the following 2 years, if not earlier, and even if he failed to meet the standards, they would yet assault the beast. While washing his face, Jarian was shivering at a chance of curing his father. It wasn't fear but determination and excitement. After years of hopelessness, the fire within him finally kindled. A nurse walks in, checking on his health. He is astonished hearing of how his arm was reconstructed. Considering its damage, she assures the doctor would explain and help with his muscular pains, but he further asks of Chill. She reports him to have been discharged the same day. Due to his incredible recovery speed, he is confused when she inquires and clicks a picture alongside him. He asks if he could check out, but she advises him to not approach the main door since reporters were flooding the spot. As he asks in confusion, she shows him a post on her phone where he was spotted fighting and preventing myriad casualties, which eventually led to their fame. She hands him a bag which is instructed by his friend to help conceal his identity. It was of course from Jean Serum. He finds a rope in a handy window. Our Manhwa-friendly Rapunzel descends with a sore back, waving back the nurse. Jean was awaiting his arrival on the street in full blame as Jarian hops in, curious of the bag. Jean explains it had clothes and a phone and asks him to cease with his emotional looks as he states his motive to rest for the day. She informs it was for the adventure uniform, and it was by the greatest tailor himself. The materials for armor were divided into 3 categories. Foremost, the cloth, although not durable, magic helped overcome the problem. Secondly, the metal, although it was durable, its weight was a major drawback. And the layer between was leather, neither too heavy nor weak. It was the best for damage dealers. She further inquires of how he had managed to defeat the monsters. Although the video was publicized, the battle against the 3-horn wasn't. Not quite sure himself, Jarian excuses the question politely. She also suggests him to be careful. Besides the reporters, Chili Khan was simultaneously baited into shows and interviews but had managed to conceal Jarian's information. Considering the promise the two had made, as she asks him to lie low to the exam, he asked his manager Yuhuan to meet him the same night. Meanwhile, Jean reports of how 1 in 100 managed to pass in the recruitment test he was to appear in the last 5 years. He brutally refutes, saying since she was accepted at her level it would be quite a breeze. As they enter the 8-layer, Jean recounts him that during the tests, parents of the candidates who might be friends who lead to eventual team-ups, as such if his identity was to be revealed, he would instantly turn into a viable target. He rejects the ideology, determined to beat and defeat all participants. He hurriedly inquires of a bathroom to change. Jean leads him and asks him to return soon. Meanwhile, at the reception, Jean is informed that her appointment was nabbed since the CEO had some urgent needs, offering to compensate with money. It was a rumor amongst the adventurers, but the first generation were evidently different. The generations that followed their sacrifices reaped their skills, strategies, and such, but the major distinction was their conditions at birth. With time and age, the passed on not only talents but also the initial superior education, as Jean refutes and insists a certain someone befitting such conditions showed up. Han Gaeon, the current student president at Warrior High. She explains that since the CEO was her uncle, Jean was to pretend to have offered her spot instead of having it cancelled, as she is about to comply, well aware of the power she held as the student representative. Jarian shows up, stating of how pointless Jin's urges were as Han is about to gladly accept his answer. Jarian viciously asks her to cut The crap and Scoot Han commends his courage and queries of his identity, but his Jean is about to answer. A swift slash across her breasts apprehends her, but as she falls to the ground no evident scars were present. Han was curious why she had spoken instead. Jarian walks up identifying himself as a prospective student of Warrior High. He also expressed his disappointment at the presence of students like her at Warrior High. She pauses and launches a flurry of similar slashes at him as she mocks his frivolous attitude. Jarian smirks and launches a similarly conceptualized barrage of hits at her mockingly. Meanwhile, Han Songwo, the armored designer, walks in excusing his niece's behavior. Jean was grateful at the timely arrival. Meanwhile, Jar Young inquires of Han Jia-yoon. She explains further that she was the strongest student at Warrior High who in her very first year had defeated all the student council members and bagged the seat of the president. Every specializing school handed out gemstones to the students, which licensed them to enter the weaker dungeons and gather experiences and develop battle sense alongside. But the ones at Warrior High were exceptional professionals of the highest caliber. But unofficially, not only did they garner influences in specialized meets but also worked with professional attack teams to participate in raids against monsters, scaling up from 5 stars, and as such the student council members were considered pros who would achieve the title of rankers further down the line. As Galen is about to leave, Jariel offers to make a bet through shadow sparring, where one who touches the other first or manages to push the individual out of the ruled area wins. He bets his slot in time with the designer against her position as the school president when he entered the school next year. Without any forethought, Gaeon gladly accepts the terms while Jin's poor soul left her body. At the 8 layers durability test room, the pair stood facing each other. As their fierce auras raged around them, Jin recalls of his answers. Although he knew he could not win against her regardless of his health, he was certain he could pull off something way better. Jin wonders if he was attempting to lose on purpose to get on her good side, but rejects the possibility quickly. Meanwhile, the 8 layer apologizes for Jun's unreasonable but truthful behavior, but Jin refutes, stating of Jirian's stubbornness. Although he wasn't sure quite yet, he was certain it wasn't his stubbornness. Gao offers to use a single arm to make the fight fair and interesting. Jariel welcomes the initiative as an excuse for her loss. Agitated, she zaps past the distance between them and throws a kick in his face, which he barely avoids. Both the spectators were appalled at the sight, while Jean wondered if she was capable enough to fight such an individual. Songwoo queries if he was really a transfer student with such incredible skills. He was, after all, the former St. Green ranked adventurer. Although his talent was evident from the received data, what he saw was quite unexpected. He too was previously a vigorous adventurer and hence knew well of Jirian's intention, totally different from pride or flex but curiosity. Chi-Yun's already at a subpar level than most. He had initiated the bet to gauge what the distance between them lied as they exchanged blows. Gao surprised, since it had been long since someone offended her attacks. She computed him to be barely of his health, considering the fight against the horned horrors which she apparently had watched over times. She offers to call it a tie and to continue once he was admitted into the school. Jarian rises staggeringly, clarifying that he had no intentions to stop in, recounting her that the student president's seat was on the line as he stances himself. Solo was aware that he was simply bluffing, disappointed at his idiocy, which she had considered as courage, and approaches enraged. The 2 spectators were now alarmed. Since Jaryong had moved first, Jae-yoon was alarmed at his strike too. As Jean cheers his unrestrained hits, Solo finally realizes his wrong guess. He was simply trying to gauge his strength against him, but in those few exchanges he had completely learned her movements. It never was a matter of a win or loss. He was a monster who had offered the bet to simply steal Gon's skill. As she dodged yet again, Jarian was now a bit content. Ever since he was little, he used to work as a smuggler and have learned something significant. It was to never make a losing trade. That's it for today. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.